On Monday night at 8:10, and by the way, I have a great relationship and a great amount of respect for the superintendent of schools in Manchester. Current and former. Never had an issue. This is not the superintendent's problem. It's somebody else's. I don't care who it is. So September 1st, that's Labor Day, right? 8:10 p.m. Phil, this is proposed but has not been voted on by our board. We might want to be able to do so tomorrow if you think we are close. Tuition of $12,000 or the same as Pinkerton, whichever is higher, plus capital costs of $791,000 plus. Let me know, Deb. 8:22, Labor Day night, 12 minutes later. Deb, I will have to take direction from our negotiation subcommittee. I will forward this to them. 8:27 to the negotiation subcommittee. I received the attached from Dr. Livingston this evening. As I indicated on Thursday, I need to go to the Cape tomorrow to meet with my mother's medical team. I received a call tonight. Her condition is grave. I will be at the meeting if possible, but things are looking bad. That was the email.
This is a motion for the Hooksett Manchester Memorandum of Understanding to direct our negotiating attorney to review the Manchester-Hooksett 2013 tuition agreement and create a memorandum of understanding with similar language as follows. Manchester guarantees that a Hooksett student who begins their high school education at a Manchester high school under this 2013 tuition agreement will be allowed to complete their high school education at that Manchester school. Manchester and Hooksett also agree that tuition for any such years until completion will be calculated based on a yearly 2% increase from the 2017-2018 rate of $10,824, which is $11,040 for the 2018-2019 school year. Hooksett guarantees that it will take no action to prevent a Hooksett student from remaining at a Manchester high school until the completion of high school if that student chooses to remain at the Manchester high school. Payment for an entire year for the Hooksett enrollment numbers provided to Manchester on December 1st will be guaranteed, with the exception for students who move out of Hooksett. Finally, the agreements with this MOU are superseded by any new agreement that covers years beyond those listed in the 2013 agreement, which is successfully negotiated by Hooksett and Manchester. If I get a second, I'll speak to that.
Second.
So I believe this captures everything I've been hearing the last few weeks. I think there might have been some new things tonight, which if anybody would like to make an amendment to this motion, I would definitely entertain that. But this is a fair agreement, I believe, that our negotiating attorney could look at the language and twist it as needed. The negotiation committee could go into their next meeting armed with this from the board and offer that up. And this is basically what we're willing to do. I don't believe we should be entertaining any kind of $791,000 of capital costs. I think that seems to be the will of the board here. As far as the tuition amount, I think this amount here is fair. And I also believe it's in Manchester's best interest to remain competitive. But that's their choice. If they want to negotiate with our negotiating committee, that's something I suppose you would bring back, or we could give you authorization tonight. But, you know, that would be like showing our hand, I guess. I think it would be in Manchester's best interest to put this to bed. It's a simple review of existing contract. This is not long-term negotiations. However, it's really making it look like they want to be difficult versus a partner in education.
Let's not try to editorialize on
I
those
can't help
kinds
it,
of things.
Chair.
I know that, but please refrain from that if you would.
Yes, I will. So that's my motion.
I believe Mr. Sullivan is next, and then Mr. Berry.
Thank you. Sorry I wasn't at last week's meeting. When I first saw this, and it's been changed tonight, and I'm glad the changes have taken place. And I was a little concerned with two of this would be the second paragraph and the third paragraph. I understand the third much better tonight, so and that this similarly meets the previous motion that was made. So I understand that. I just want a clarification, and I think that meets one of the guarantees that people are saying, well, if we're guaranteeing they can stay, you want to guarantee they won't go. And that makes sense. Just a question. I don't want people or students or parents to interpret that if the student chooses to remain, well, I don't want to go to Manchester anymore. They choose, they don't, that's not as simple as that. It may be a little bit more involved to say, I don't want to go to that school. So that would be my concern. If it's not clear, I want to make sure it meets the requirements of any transfers or changes and so forth. But if the student chooses, well, I don't want to go to West anymore because I don't like the mascot. Well, I just want to, if that would be an open-ended, I just want to be concerned that it's not just a simple choice. So I want to get I would want to get a clarification on that. And other than that, it looks good on this. I just had one other question, but it's not addressed in this motion, so I will hold off on that. But that's the only clarification on that. If the student chooses to remain in Manchester, that seems to be very vague. Is there any requirement for them if there's a decision to go elsewhere educational-wise? That would need to be required. It wouldn't be. So that's the clarification on that. Can someone clarify?
I can't respond to that, but I would ask Mr. Liskars to please respond, and please just make it, please, very simple. Yes. Can you do that?
Yes, I will. Jim, it's a good question, but I believe what I was trying to do there is attend to Manchester's need, if you will, that they expressed in the first negotiation meeting. If you see the second paragraph after, it talks about payment for an entire year for the Hooksett enrollment numbers provided to Manchester will be guaranteed with the exception of students who move out of Hooksett. So that's important. So that means by our policy, we've already said, we have another policy that says the child has to remain there for a year. So this basically guarantees they will have that payment for a year. The chooses is about Manchester worried that the Hooksett School Board would take some action to force a child to move. So this puts the ownership on the student if the student chooses to remain at Manchester High School. So in other words, if you're going to Central or West, you love it there and you're about to go into your senior year, they want some assurance that the Hooksett School Board won't pull them out of that school and send them somewhere else. And so that was the reason for the word. I entertain an amendment if there's something that could be clearer.
The quick question. That you explained the paragraph 4, but you went to paragraph 5, and I think that prompted a little tweak in my head. I'm glad. So now I'm confused with the 5th paragraph.
You know what? I think we're making this too simplistic and beating it to death. I think that we need to find out whether or not people are agreeable to this motion. And Mike has been very patient, waiting to make his comments. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I was at that meeting last Thursday, and majority of what was discussed was kind of the basis of what we're talking about here, and that was our understanding when Dr. Livingston left, was that 2%, and that our intention as a board is to not encourage people to leave, that once they commit to a school that they would be staying at a school. So this was all kind of discussed in our meeting in terms of back and forth, but I don't understand why if we make this motion, if all of a sudden it's going to get received differently from the board. from their board. This is kind of, like I said, this was the number that we'd given them, that 11,040. We all thought it was fair, and they came back with 12,000 and 791,000. So about $30,000 per kid if 30, 40 kids go there. So I don't see how this is going to change where we're at in our negotiation process.
Thank you. Who else had a comment? Go ahead, Amy. Oh, I was looking at you, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I agree with Mike. I think this is just going to prolong our communication. I don't know when their next school board meeting is. I think don't they have one like tonight or something, or tomorrow? I don't know. I don't think we can get this out and done and back in time. And I'm not exactly comfortable with the 5th paragraph because I don't think we've had enough experience to know how the families selecting their high school. I know we're in the midst of writing policy, but what you're stating is that if a child picks a high school on December 1st, the Hooksett taxpayers are going to pay tuition, but we really don't know if over the summer they're going to apply change high schools out of the blue yet. I mean, we don't have enough bandwidth to know how, if we tell them they have to stay a year, that they actually stay a year, and this being the first year would be the difficult one. So I'm a little uncomfortable because I think out of pocket we could end up, for a few kids, maybe paying two schools, but that's just my thought. I won't be supporting this motion. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Liskars, we're going to make this the last, and then we're going to, it's already 5 minutes to 9. Go ahead, please.
So I realize it's late, Madam Chair. This is very important business for the Hooksett parents who want to send their kids to Manchester. To address Amy's first point that she made, that this is going to slow things down, I actually believe it's going to speed it up. No matter what you do in negotiations committee, it finally has to get to a lawyer, and it has to come back then and be approved by the board. And I'm trying to put myself in your shoes tonight and Mike's shoes, because you guys are kind of like, well, you know, we had this talk, and I wholeheartedly understand your position, but you also have to try to take ours who are on the board who aren't in that committee. We haven't heard any of this until tonight. So this was the first time we heard. So I'm just trying to express that we didn't hear about this stuff till tonight. No matter what happens, the board has to agree to it, a lawyer has to draw it up, then it gets signed by both boards. So there's no getting around that because we're basically adding terms to an existing contract. It is what it is. I think all this is an attempt to get the board to rally around whether you want to add amendments or take something off. I think I'm definitely open to that because it's got to be an expression of our board, but I think it'll actually speed things up for us and help us get past this first hurdle of short-term, which we've been talking about for a long time, the short-term issue with Manchester. We've got the one with Pinkerton under the belt, short-term. This is the outstanding one with Manchester, so that's it.
Are we ready to call for a vote?
Can we have a roll call, please?
Certainly. And Mrs. Moynihan, would you would you do the roll call? I'm sorry. No, I just wanted you to do the roll call, because everybody has the motion right here, okay?
Perfect. Jim Sullivan.
No, because of number 5.
Mike
No.
John Liskars.
Yes, because I heard no amendments to this motion.
Todd Lazar.
No.
Dave Muller.
No.
No. Read the motion again, the main motion, so we can vote on it?
Meetings at council, all over the place.
Okay, so the motion stands as to direct the negotiation committee to propose this to Manchester. We will ask for tuition based on actual cost for the 2018-2019 school year.
Okay, we're all set?
Roll call.
Mr. Lazat has asked for a roll call.
Yes.
Amy Bowler,
Yes.
Todd Lazar,
Yes.
John Liscars,
No.
Joanne McHugh.
Yes. Thank you.
Motion carries.
Okay.
Madam Chair, before you break, just so we're clear, I will respond to the Monday email on behalf of the negotiations committee and simply state,
Can you just talk into the mic? I don't think it's on.
I will simply state that we're proposing actual cost
Right.
for the 2018-19 school year for that group. That's it.
That we're going to, wasn't it that he was directing the negotiations committee?
Right.
That's right.
So I'm going to respond, but I will word it on behalf of the negotiations committee.
Right.
To comply with the motion.
Yes, Mr. Liscars.
So, Madam Chair, my understanding is that that's in addition to the other things that the negotiation committee has already agreed to. Is that correct, Dr. Littlefield?
We haven't agreed to anything except for,
We want our kids to complete. We
Oh,
won't
yes.
pull them out. Those are things you've discussed? Or
We haven't agreed to any of that, no.
no.
No?
We have no agreement with Manchester.
The only thing that was on, go ahead, Dr. Little.
We have we had the meeting on July 30th, and we decided to break it up into short-term and long-term agreements. And there's one short-term question, 18-19. The more long-term approach, in fact, if you'll all remember, the meeting was over and people were leaving, and I said, wait a minute. You know, it's over? Like, what about the long-term thing? Aren't we going to discuss some long-term? So we have set a meeting for September 17th,
Right,
and that will be discussing long-term.
at Central.
But we have made no agreements whatsoever, except the agreement we made last week that we would do a 2% increase